Our story begins with Niko Bellic, a man forged in the crucible of war. He was a soldier, a veteran of the brutal Yugoslav Wars, a conflict that tore through his homeland and left scars far deeper than any physical wound. When the fighting finally ceased, the structured chaos he knew vanished, replaced by an unsettling peace that offered no solace, no job, and no direction. Life after the war proved even more treacherous than the battlefield. Desperate, with no means to survive, Niko found himself drawn into a darker world, undertaking tasks that, while necessary for survival, earned him the dangerous ire of powerful criminals. With enemies closing in and no future left in his ravaged country, Niko had a choice: face a grim, inevitable end, or escape. His only beacon of hope lay across the vast ocean, in the shimmering, distant promise of the United States. His cousin, Roman Bellic, was already there, in the sprawling, enigmatic metropolis known as Liberty City. For months, Roman's letters had arrived, filled with exaggerated tales of success, luxury, and endless opportunity. "Come to America, Niko," they'd implore. "The streets are paved with gold. We'll make our fortune." Driven by desperation and a fragile hope for a clean slate, Niko endured the arduous, clandestine journey. He boarded a freighter, a shadowy figure among illegal cargo, sailing for days across the Atlantic. Each wave that crashed against the hull of the platypus carried him further from his past, closer to a dream he desperately clung to. He envisioned a life of simplicity, a decent job, a quiet home, a chance to finally shed the heavy burden of his past. A fresh start. But as the ship finally docked in the grimy, unforgiving harbor of Liberty City, and Niko stepped onto American soil, a heavy sense of unease settled over him. The city lights blazed, cold and indifferent, revealing a landscape far different from the glittering paradise Roman had promised. He scanned the bustling docks, searching for his cousin, a solitary figure swallowed by the vastness of an unknown future. What awaited him in this new world was something he could never have truly imagined. The journey had ended, but his real struggle was only just beginning. As Niko stood on the grimy dock, a sense of cold reality began to seep in. His companion from the arduous journey, Hossan Ramsey, a fellow traveler seeking a new life, quickly spotted his girlfriend in the crowd. With a joyful shout and a quick, grateful nod to Niko, Hossan melted into the embrace of familiar arms, disappearing into the bustling anonymity of the city. Just like that, Niko was alone again, the vastness of Liberty City suddenly feeling less like a promise and more like an indifferent giant. A prickle of frustration, sharp and unwelcome, was Niko's first true greeting from the promised land. Time stretched on, marked by the impersonal ebb and flow of the dock's activity. Just as impatience began to curdle into genuine unease, a familiar, disheveled figure finally emerged from the chaos. It was Roman, his cousin, swaying slightly, a wide, boozy grin plastered across his face. "Niko! My friend! You're here!" Roman bellowed, throwing his arms wide in an embrace that reeked of cheap liquor and forced enthusiasm. He was clearly drunk, the tales of his luxurious life already feeling thin. "Come on, my brother, let's get you settled." Roman slurred, fumbling with keys in his hand. He gestured towards a battered, black taxi cab, a stark contrast to the gleaming sports cars and lavish apartments he'd boasted about in his letters. "Roman," Niko began, his gaze fixed on the battered black cab, the sports car. "The one you wrote about? Why isn't it here?" Roman, a bead of sweat tracing a path down his temple, quickly dismissed the question with a flimsy excuse. "The Comet. She's in the shop, my friend. Just a little tune-up." Niko's surprise was palpable. This was hardly the grand welcome he'd envisioned. "You drive, my friend. I've had a long day, celebrating your arrival, you understand." Niko took the wheel of the grimy cab, the worn steering wheel a far cry from the sleek sports car he'd imagined. As they pulled away from the docks and began to navigate the sprawling, uninviting streets, Niko glanced at Roman. "Why don't you show me the city, Roman? You wrote so much about it." Roman, still slightly woozy, leaned back in his seat, his earlier boisterousness replaced by a strained earnestness. "Niko, my friend, not tonight. You see, there are terrorists in the city. Very dangerous. And you, my dear cousin, you're without a visa. We must keep a low profile, understand? It's for your own safety. The words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken dread. Terrorists? A visa issue? On his very first night in the land of opportunity, the vibrant, glittering promise of Liberty City began to show its darker side. The opulent apartments and easy millions Roman had bragged about seemed to vanish with each mile, replaced by the stark reality of a city teeming with dangers and deceptions. This wasn't the fresh start Niko had envisioned. This was just another fight, dressed in different clothes. As the taxi rattled through the city's labyrinthine streets, a faint, flickering hope still clung to Niko, a mental image of the sprawling mansion, the gleaming sports car, the life of ease Roman had painted in his letters. But with every passing block, that hope dimmed, replaced by a growing dread. When Roman finally pulled up to a dilapidated, grimy building, Niko's heart sank. This was it. Not a mansion, not even a decent apartment building, but a squalid, forgotten corner of a city that suddenly felt devoid of promise. All his hopes, all the dreams he'd clung to during the perilous journey, vanished in an instant. The realization hit him like a physical blow. He had been fooled. Not just by circumstance, but by his own cousin, the one person he believed he could trust. The anger, simmering beneath the surface since his arrival, finally boiled over. This is it, Roman. Niko's voice was low, laced with fury as he confronted his cousin. This is your mansion? Your paved streets of gold? You lied to me. You promised me a new life, wealth, everything. Roman, however, met Niko's outburst with a bewildering lack of guilt, shrugging off the accusations with a casual wave of his hand. Relax, cousin. It's temporary. Just a few bumps on the road to success. He offered one flimsy excuse after another, his carefree attitude only fueling Niko's rage. This was the raw, unvarnished other side of the American dream, a bitter pill of deception and hard truths. But then, Roman's gaze hardened. And what about you, Niko? He retorted, a sudden bite in his voice. You think you came here a saint? You think I don't know about your troubles back home? You think you had any other choice? The sharp words cut through Niko's anger, replacing it with a cold, unsettling clarity. Roman was a liar,